What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today is Tuesday. That means it's time for the weekly Nightfall Strike solo. This week, it's Omnigul. Again, that's 2 weeks out of the last 3 weeks that we've seen Omnigul. Now, I got some more to say about this while we're running through the strike. First, let's go over the modifiers. We got Epic and Nightfall as usual. We got Arcburn. We got Light Switch, and we've got Juggler. Arcburn and Light Switch together are a very deadly combo. Thralls, in particular, they do both Arcburn with their melee attack, and of course, since Light Switch is on, it's amplified, so they are all a one-shot kill. So any Thrall can kill you in just one shot, making this very, very dangerous. All right, let me show you guys the loadout I'll be bringing in. Now, I'm going to be switching between a Defender and a Striker class. I'll start off with the Striker class, and when I'm running Defender, I'll use the Helm of Saint 14, but while I'm using the Striker class, I'll be using the Armamentarium to get extra grenades, and the reason is, obviously it's Arcburn. I want the grenades to be doing damage, and the flashbangs are really useful for blinding enemies, making them easier to take down very quickly. For my loadout, I've got Fatebringer, Aphrodite's Spear, and the Thunderlord. This is a very nasty combo. I think I'll actually start off with the Song of Ute to shoot down through the Knight's shields a little easier, but then for Omnigul, I'll actually switch over to Thunderlord. It's a pretty strong loadout, but it's a pretty tough Nightfall, so let's get into it. Let's fly on down to the planet and get started. All right, guys, we have landed on Earth. It's time to get this strike started. The second time in 3 weeks that the will of Crota has been the Nightfall. I think one of the hardest strikes. Not my favorite strike, to be honest with you, because you're so penned in the whole time. It just lacks a little bit of the fun and the spontaneity of some of my favorite strikes. But it is the second time we've seen this strike in 3 weeks, similar to the Archon Priest. Last week we saw the Archon Priest, and that was the second time we saw the Archon Priest in 2 weeks. And I find that interesting. And there's a couple of reasons that could be, and really speculating on those reasons is why I find it so interesting. So, the first thing that pops to mind is that, Bungie's doing it intentionally. They put the Archon Priest as the Nightfall last week because, it tied in with the Prison of Elders. The story stuff tied in, which makes sense. And this week is the last week that the Dark Below is kind of the most current content for Destiny. So they figured they'd kind of just put it in there one more time, which also kind of makes sense. But it may not be that those are the reasons at all for this. Oh boy, hello. That guy's a one-shot kill this week. Light Switch and Arcburn, he does both of those. So he is very, very dangerous. I'm already running out of sniper ammo. And I've just come up against the Shanks. So we're going to try and take these Shanks out with heavy. Damn, they are powerful. Shanks, man. The deadliest enemy in the Nightfall. Alright, at least we got some sniper ammo out of that. Looks like we got some primary, too. I want to say there's probably another Shank up there. There he is. The next concern we have are the invisible reavers. Be very careful of those guys. All right. So now we just got to clean up a few more fallen and spawn in the hive. So the next explanation for why they... Whoa! Whoa! I didn't know that guy was still out there. Woo! That was scary. So anyway, the next explanation to why the Nightfall's order might have changed is that they just reset it all together, right? The next week's Nightfall is almost definitely going to be... It's definitely going to be the new strike from the House of Wolves content. And Bungie's come out and said that, you know, the new strike won't be available till 10 a.m. Pacific time or 1 p.m. Eastern time after the release of House of Wolves. So next week is the release of House of Wolves, 7 days from today on May 19th. And that content will drop at some point after 10 a.m. Pacific time. And that's when the Nightfall will strike will drop too, because it's almost definitely going to be the new strike from House of Wolves. So it may be that the reason that we've seen these strikes kind of come up so frequently, like the same strikes come up like this, is just because they reordered it, you know, it kind of reset the order, and that just randomly happened. I doubt it, though. Like, for some reason, I doubt that. Kind of matching it into the story seems more likely, and, you know, getting us one last shot at the Will of Crota, Nightfall, while Dark Below is still the most relevant content. That seems to me to make more sense. But I also find it somewhat interesting, and I think this may tie together, that Xur sold Thunderlord last week. The reason I find that interesting is the Destiny data miners, the guys like MegaMan over on Reddit, you know, they looked at the game code. They could see what Xur was going to sell, what was in his loot table, what was possible for him to sell. And they decided, or they found out, that there were a few guns, like Thunderlord or Icebreaker, that just were not in that loot table. So it just wasn't possible for Xur to sell it randomly. It would only happen if Bungie kind of manually made it happen. And that's what happened last week with Thunderlord. And I find that to be pretty interesting. The timing of it seems interesting to me. You know, here we are with an Arcburn strike just after the release of Thunderlord, which is cool. And heading right into the House of Wolves, we start getting an exotic that we've never seen before from Xur, which is really exciting stuff. You know, there's a lot of people that were really excited to see Thunderlord, even if you'd already gotten it. It it was exciting to see him sell something that we hadn't seen before. Oh, shit. Oh, those guys are close to me. And I'm out of primary ammo.
Push forward, Guardian.
You push forward. I don't have any primary ammo. I'm not pushing forward. You push forward. There we go. So yeah, with Thunderlord being sold by Xur, that kind of opens the table up. What else might Xur sell? And my first answer, do you think he might come out and sell Gjallarhorn? I personally think he might. And the reason for this is that we know that Bungie's kind of getting in there, getting their hands dirty in the code. We see that with the fact that the order of the Nightfalls has changed. Either in preparation for the House of Wolves, or just to make room for the House of Wolves Nightfall Strike. We also saw them get their hands dirty and put Thunderlord in the loot table and in fact give it to us. We know that the Prison of Elders is going to be a major challenge. And maybe this is their way of saying, get ready for the greatest challenge you've faced so far in Destiny. Get your Guardian ready. Xur's here to help. People really want this gun. We realize that. It's now available through Xur. Get it while it's hot. I haven't talked to anybody, obviously, at Bungie. You said that. But tell me it doesn't make sense. You know, the Gjallarhorn doesn't need to be the end-all, be-all of the most rare... Well, we got Shanks over here. The end-all, be-all of the most, like, kind of rare drops in Destiny. And that's what it is. I mean, it is rare as hell. Some people disagree with that. You know, there's going to be anecdotal evidence. So I've gotten 2 of them. I've gotten 3 of them. I've gotten 2 of them too. I play a lot of Destiny. There's other guns I haven't gotten at all. I've never gotten a Monte Carlo. It's the gun, frankly, that I'm hoping for at the end of this Nightfall Strike. Oh. But I think it would be amazing if Gjallarhorn was Xur's item this week. Because getting ready for the Prison of Elders, that's going to make every fire team stronger. Everybody who goes out and buys a Gjallarhorn, you know, it's the highest DPS gun in the game. It's the strongest weapon in the game. And if everybody's got one, you know, your fire team just gets a lot stronger right away. And that's exciting to me. You know, I got guys in my raid, on my raid team, that have been playing since the release of Vanilla Destiny in September. They've been playing for what is that, 9 months now? And they don't have it yet. And it drives them crazy. You know, there's no content in the game that you need Gjallarhorn for. But it is the highest DPS weapon in the game, and therefore very valuable. And the fact that somebody who's been playing this game week in, week out, running raids, running Nightfalls every week, doesn't have it. That's disappointing. That's harsh, you know? And there'll be the argument, well, you know, people who buy it from Xur didn't earn it. And that's, I don't agree with that at all. You know, if you've spent the time in Destiny up to this point and you just haven't been lucky enough to get it, you know, it's all RNG. People who have it don't deserve it any more than people who don't have it. There's nothing you did that somebody else didn't do, to get that Galahorn. It's just, you got lucky. You know, the RNG just went in your favor one particular time and you happened to get it. So to say that yours is somehow more special than somebody who bought it from Xur, I'm sorry, that seems a little bit absurd. You know, even guys who started in December, you know, people who started after the Dark Below had been released, people who got it as a Christmas present or started playing, you know, later on and have run through, you know, dozens of Nightfalls and dozens of raids and just haven't been lucky enough to get it, you know, this could be their chance. And then, of course, there'll be the people who log into Destiny for the first time in months on Tuesday with the release of House of Wolves. And they see all their friends now have Galahorn. And they say, well, what happened? How'd you guys get Galahorn? They said, well, we just bought it from Xur. He was just selling it this weekend. How funny would that be? I think it'd be hilarious. But I don't know. There's reason to speculate about this. There's no real evidence that it's going to happen. I think it's interesting that Thunderlord dropped for the first time from Xur. You know, 2 weeks before Prison of Elders. And I could see him doing the same thing with Galahorn. I think it'd be really interesting. Alright, I think we're going to start pushing forward. Try and take this sniper rifle. Oh, off of the roof in front of us. Guy drives me crazy. Look at this guy. Joe Namath with those things.
Keep moving, Guardian. Find Omnigul.
Alright, let's take out the sniper. Yeah, I'm really excited about the Prison of Elders coming out. You know, I was excited for Trials of Osiris, and I still am, but Prison of Elders, to me, I don't know. Actually, I could go either way. You know, Prison of Elders, getting that randomness into Destiny's kind of, you know, the core gameplay, the core shooting mechanics of Destiny, I think are some of the best that have ever been in a video game. It's just fun to play this game. It's fun to shoot the guns. You know, the weapon variety is great. I find it to be a very impressive game. Damn, that guy had a lot of health. I think that guy's like right behind that box. Oh, there he was. There's still another one, though. There's still two. I'm just going to move on. All right. Yeah, Prison of Elders, I think it's going to be stunning. The coolest thing about Prison of Elders to me is the fact that it is a 3-man fire team. You know, initially upon hearing there was no raid in the House of Wolves, I was disappointed. But after watching the Prison of Elders gameplay and seeing it, like, kind of the ebb and flow of it, it kind of excited me that it was a 3-man fire team, because I think that the strategy, the communication, like kind of the choices in your loadout are going to be so much more important than they are in a 6-man fire team. In a 6-man fire team, you can carry people, even on hard mode. You know, the Vault of Glass, it's a little harder because, you know, if you're carrying 2 people and they both get sent, you know, to Venus or to Mars in the Atheon fight, it can be a bit of a pain in the neck. But for the most part, you can carry people through those. But I don't think you're going to be carrying people through the Prison of Elders. And the way they've got it set up so that you can start doing it kind of as a rock stripe type of deal at, what is it, level 28? Right off the bat. Then you can jump in with your team, you know, your fire team at level 32. And that's going to prove to be difficult, especially while all our Guardians are still level 32. I think that's going to be really difficult. But not impossible. But level 34 as a level 32, that might be another story. I'm sure it can be done, but I bet it's going to be really hard. Alright, let's burn down these guys. I'm going to concentrate for a second here.
Omnigul, destroy her!
Come on, reload! Why waste sniper ammo on that guy? Was that the guy from right there? I think he must have been. Alright, so we're going to take down Omnigul here. And we're going to try and burn down this ogre as fast as possible. Come on, do your little screamy thing. There it is. Alright, the ogre will spawn in. Yeah, that noise scares me every time. That did not go very well. So we still got to contend with that ogre. Can we snipe at him? There we go. Alright, at this point, I think I'm going to switch over to Thunderlord. Pop a synth. And we'll try our luck with the big dog here. In a lot of ways, Trials of Osiris and Prison of Elders are very similar. They're both three-man fire teams. They're both going to really rely on communication and teamwork. It's pretty exciting stuff on both sides. It'll be interesting to see what patch 1.2 brings us to, because you know there's going to be some hidden surprises. Something along the lines of the swords being available on the Earth and the Moon. I'm guessing it's going to be the Scorch Cannon. You know, we're going to see that Scorch Cannon available. I really think that Scorch Cannon is going to be out in the wild. We saw a picture of it in the Vault of Glass. In that little trailer, that little vid doc that Bungie released. You know, I don't think they're going to add it to the Vault of Glass. Although that'd be awesome if they did. I think it's more likely that there's a new mission that takes us through one of the areas of the Vault of Glass. You know, maybe the Fallen are now inside the Vault of Glass scavenging. That could be cool. You know, now that we've cleared out the major threat of Atheon, maybe the Fallen have moved right in. And we'll be able to use a Scorch Cannon on the Fallen inside the Vault of Glass. I also wonder how big that patch is going to be. What was 1.1.2 was what, 6 gigs? There wasn't much like new content in there that I know of. There was a jukebox. They changed the color of the ball. You know, they definitely added some new content, like Like, we know that the Terminus has been redone, which will be part of the new strike. Oh, it's interesting, to say the least. Alright, so it looks like the room is pretty much cleared out. That means it's time to fight Omnigul herself. This is dangerous, obviously. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to set a bubble up here for the second phase, but for the first phase, we're going to use our bubble out in the open. We're going to try and break her will with this Thunderlord. Look at how much damage she does. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's craziness. And I'm a Striker Titan. Nice move. Alright, let me switch over to Defender. Did not even realize that. Alright, we'll go with... What do we want here? I think we want this guy. And we want our Helm of Saint 14. I was going to pop a bubble up there and totally forgot that I was a striker. Not a big deal. Didn't cost us, luckily. Doesn't mean we'll have to be somewhat careful in this first wave. I was hoping that would curve around. Nail her. Where is she? Still over here? Alright, once that scream comes out, it's your time to run away. That means you've done a quarter damage to her, and she's called in her friends. If you start to get overwhelmed, run back here, but you got to run back pretty far because those thralls, I've seen them come all the way up to this rock. And one-shot kills with those thralls. Arc burn and light switch. Double trouble. Guy was nice enough to drop some heavy ammo. I'll have to send him a thank you card later. Alright, we should be pretty much cleared out, except for a witch and a possible knight. So what I'd like to do is take care of the witch before I start doing damage on Omnigul. But that can be harder to do than you might think. That was a good shot right there, but I missed it. There we go. Alright. I'm gonna pop my bubble. Let's see if we can take her down. There is a knight up there. Oh, shit. Alright, that's why that bubble is there. So when those thrall come out of that window, and I'm distracted by Omnigul, they don't sneak up behind me and kill me. The only reason I survived that was because that hallowed thrall I ran past was invisible. Or was blinded. Because of the Helm of Saint 14. Nothing other than that Helm of Saint 14. Just caused me to survive that. Alright, the scream has come. That means we are gone. Check my heavy, see if I can pop a synth. I can. Alright, now we just gotta deal with the mobs again. Got a Boomer Knight over there. We are quickly running out of primary ammo. Wow. That was a direct hit. Oh, that was a miss. When you got too much stuff firing around, you can't even see around it, so you basically just have to back off. I'll shoot at this wall here, and it'll kind of draw their attention to that area. And that's really helpful. Wow. That almost cost me. I really need to get rid of this boomer knight that's hanging out over here. Damn it. There we go. Alright, so we want to take out the secondary witch. Looks like there's an acolyte up there as well. Good God. That was unfortunate. Omnigul actually just kind of stuck her head in front of that other witch. The key to this fight is patience, unfortunately. Which doesn't make for a very dynamic feeling fight. But if you get overly aggressive, you're more than likely gonna die. Finally. There's another knight over there. Alright, so I think we're ready. Oh. Apparently we're not. I think we're ready to actually start doing damage on Omnigul herself. So I'm going to pop a bubble. We're going to run out there. Here come the Cursed Thrall already. That was really quick. probably another one. At least one more. Get out! Get out! Fortunately, my bubble is gone. Alright, she just tripped. So we got another wave coming in. 45 minutes long. We're still working this strike. This is a crazy long strike. Alright, let's get... What I want to do is kind of peek around the corner. Alright, that was easy. I'm glad he was just standing there like a chump. Want to take out that knight in the corner over here. And we'll start focusing on the wizards. Come on out. I know you're over there. There you are. Oh, I got more. This is so stressful. This part is such a pain. I got one of them, I think. I think there's still another one. Oh god. Yep. Should be pretty clear here to start putting damage onto Omnigul. Just checking around. There's a knight. Yeah, I think we're pretty clear. Let's just make sure Thunderlord is fully loaded. Let's do this. Oh god, that would have been a death. That would have been a death. You see why I love that bubble so much. Yeah, it's twice in this one strike we would have died. Get away, get away! We are really running out of ammo here. Whoa. If that knight in the corner, you see he's shooting at the doorway. If he does that, you basically don't have a choice but to wait it out, which is unfortunate. Because it doesn't take much of an adjustment for him to start firing at you instead of that doorway. You see, he'll just continue to do it, you know? Alright, we got a little more ammo for the sniper rifle. That's very good. Looks like one of the witches has come out. Man, she's got like hardly any health left. Last thing I want to do right now is get overly aggressive and cost myself this entire run. At this point, though. And I still think there's maybe another witch up there as well. There's a boomer. Boomer confirmed! Boomer confirmed! Alright, that was good. We got the boomer. I think we can go out and start damaging Omnigul now. Yeah, I think so. Alright, let's do it. Shield up. Where is she? There she is. Die! Thank you. Oh, man. Whew. No Nightfall feels like more of a accomplishment than this one. Unbelievable.
But you, Guardian, have given them something new to fear.
That is a mega strike. You know, we're at 58 minutes in. 58 minutes. I think we did it faster last time, but I think solar burn. It might have been an all burn, and not being able to use Gallahorn, or well, you could still use Gallahorn, but not having it do solar damage, that slows you down a little bit. Whew, man, I don't like that strike, but I do feel like it's an accomplishment getting through it every week or every time I do it solo. All right, 386 kills. Speak of the devil. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hit that like button if you liked it. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.